Hello again, welcome back. Now it is of course the holy month of Ramadan, when Muslims everywhere abstain from eating and drinking between the hours of sunrise and sunset. But what effect does fasting have on your body? And at iftar, when the fast is broken, how does gorging on food, often high in fats and sugars, actually affect you? Well, Seema Kadar is an exercise and nutrition advisor who tells people how to eat and exercise during Ramadan, and she joins us now from London. Seema, good to see you. I know that you're fasting right now. What's a sensible way of going about it?
A sensible way is really to eat a healthy, balanced diet. So the way to do that is to actually incorporate the 5 main food groups, such as the biggest one being your fruit and vegetables, second being your carbohydrates, your potatoes and your rices, the third being your milk and your dairy products, fourth being your meat and your fish alternatives, and your last and the smallest portion being your sugars and your fats. So you really have to incorporate all 5 main groups, eat in moderation and in balance.
When you're sort of breaking your fast, fruit's not really what you fancy eating, is it? I mean, especially when it comes to iftar, people often eat food which is very high in carbohydrates and very high in fats.
Exactly, which is where we have to educate the people cooking the food. You can open your fast with 2 or 3 dates, which is actually recommended in Islam. So open your fast with 2 or 3 grapes. Instantly you'll get a high from the natural sugars from the dates. Again, drink a glass of water. Once you've had that, go and read your Maghrib prayer. Come back, which is usually roughly about 20 minutes. Because you've drank that glass of water, you're actually not that hungry, and then you can actually eat a smaller starter and a smaller main meal. So it sort of helps with excessive eating.
You mentioned water there a lot, obviously. Is dehydration a big risk during daylight hours, particularly in hot countries like the Gulf?
You can prevent dehydration by drinking water in Zuhur in the morning, at least a litre, eating foods which have a high content of water, and then for iftar, drink a glass of water before your Maghrib prayer. After you've come back, again drink another 500 ml of water. You've got to be careful that you're drinking the water in small sips, taking it gradually into the system, not really more than 100 to 200 ml. If you drink more than that in any one go, it's going to literally go down to your system and be urinated out. It's flushed out instantly. So take gradual sips of your water.
Now, I know that fasting for a month isn't unhealthy, but it can make you feel rather ill, can't it? Tired, headaches?
Yeah, lack of concentration, your eyes will feel tired, you feel irritable. That is a problem during Ramadan, but if you're eating the right foods in the morning and during iftar, then you won't actually suffer from a lack of concentration and irritable fatigue, be lethargic, because you're actually eating good, healthy, nutritionally valued food, which is helping you to prevent those kind of issues. And problems.
Is it possible to exercise during Ramadan?
It's recommended you exercise. Stay away from the strenuous exercises whereby you're taking your heart rate to such a level that you're exerting sweat out. But you should really do stretching exercises. Maybe yoga is a very good form of exercise. Work on your body posture. Pilates is another very good exercise which you should do during Ramadan. But the most basic and simple ones are to just walk.
I'm not a Muslim, but many of my colleagues here are, and they are fasting. Is it something that gets easier throughout the month, or does it get harder?
No, well, what I do, and my personal recommendation, is I actually start to prepare for Ramadan a month in advance. So I will start to change my pattern of when I drink. So I won't drink during the day, I'll drink more towards the evening, and I'll drink more in the morning. Definitely the first 2 days are the hardest. Your body then adapts and it becomes flexible to the way you're eating, your new eating regime. So it does become a lot easier during the days of Ramadan.
I'm glad to hear it. Seema, thank you very much indeed for sharing that with us. Seema Kadar speaking to us there.
Thank you very much.
We continue now with our series from China this month, and the new breed of smart, sexy women who deliberately challenge the views of a still conservative society. This week, we meet one of China's top models, a young woman who reached the heights of success in a job that not many do in China, only to give it up to go back to school.
I never dreamt of being a model. Before graduating from university in Harbin, I'd already secured a job as a secondary school teacher. But in my final year, my friends and I decided to backpack across the country. That's when we stumbled on the Shanghai International Modeling Contest and decided to join. None of us knew what models did. When we got to the preliminaries, we were stunned by how elegant and pretty Shanghainese women were. We looked like country bumpkins next to them. As expected, we were all kicked out. But within days, I was recalled by the organizing committee. It turned out a Brazilian contestant was disqualified from the competition, so they needed a replacement. Luckily, I took second place in the competition. Surprising even myself, I decided then to become a model. A war broke out in the family. My father was against my modeling because he thought it was improper.
非常顽皮，非常淘气。本来他从那个排球队进入体校哈，在一般的孩子来说吧，这是很好的一个招乐了。可是呢，他并不满足。
说妈，我已经决定了，我就非走不可。我说那你走，那你爸回来我怎么交代呢？那我就不管了。完了，孩子就走了。
I had no professional skills, so after the competition, I went online to find the world's most famous model. It was then Brazilian model Giselle. I copied her catwalk, her looks, her poses. When I emerged, everyone thought I was very internationalized.
In Beijing, Shanghai, and other developing cities, women started making themselves look beautiful. They were no longer afraid to show off, hungry to learn about clothes and makeup. The few fashion magazines at the time became their holy Bible. So Jiang Peiling came along at just the right era. Every month, they'll buy them and they'll see her.
邻居了，一在电视上看到有她的这个演出了什么的，这打电话告诉我们。
我说我们看的，
大家都很高兴。
After arriving in Beijing, I won China's top model contest 2 years in a row. But at the peak of my career, I had a change of heart. I felt omnipotent, like the world was mine. I alone deserved the glory, flowers, and applause. If someone else had them, it was somehow wrong. But as a psychology grad, I knew I was treading on dangerous ground. I knew I had to find a way to bring myself back to size. I decided to go back to school for my master's. It was a painful time because women are by nature vain. So after giving up my glamorous job, I felt as if I'd turned my back on my future. But at the same time, I knew that if I didn't take a step back, there would be no future for me. After my studies, I went back to this hot-headed industry with a new calm. On the surface, I was still one of them, but I felt very grounded. I now own a modeling school, which I set up 3 years ago, when I had this foreboding. I saw thousands of young girls giving up their studies to join modeling competitions, and was worried that 5-6 years down the road, they would end up with nothing. No culture, qualifications, or ability to earn a living. Demand is still small in this line and not many can succeed. In this school, they can learn modeling. If they can't be models, they still have other options.
Jiang is the most educated among the models. She wasn't caught up in the momentary glamour of things, which is why she's such a role model. A pretty face lasts for a short time, but your knowledge is the future.
We tend to describe women as water, but I prefer to describe women as wine. A woman has to bravely enrich herself, change herself at various stages of her life. Only then will you truly evolve.
Definitely a woman in control there. And we stay with determined women because we have some news from Saudi Arabia, where, among other things, women are banned from driving. Well, in recent weeks, a group of Saudi women have literally, excuse the pun, put their foot down in a drive for change. The newly established League of Demanders of Women's Right to Drive Cars, bit of a mouthful, is lobbying the king to overturn the ban. Ladies, we wish you all the very best in that. And that's it. If you have any comments on today's show, do email us at everywoman@aljazeera.net. But for now, from all of us here, bye-bye.